Hello. I'd like to talk for a moment about your intuition in relationships. Getting in touch with your intuition and learning to get in tune with it and to be able to hear it and distinguish the voice of your intuition, which I call your sixth sense. It's your sixth sense. It transcends all physical senses, and it actually can sense things that the physical senses can't sense, and it knows things that the physical senses don't know. It transcends all physicality. And learning to distinguish the voice of your intuition can really make a difference in your life. And especially with relationships, it can help you save you a lot of trouble, save you a lot of disappointment, and a lot of grief, and a lot of heartache if you can learn to hear your intuition. And when it comes to relationships, it can warn you not to get in a bad relationship before you get into it. Or it can let you know that a relationship isn't going to last. And that helps when it does end because you knew that it wasn't going to last. It can also help you to improve your existing relationship and tell you things that you need to do that will help salvage maybe a relationship that's on the rocks, or just help you improve the relationship you're already in. So learning to hear the voice of your intuition is very important in every aspect of life, especially when it comes to relationships. Several years ago, I had entered a new relationship, and I had moved out of state to be with my new love. And we were getting along fine. Everything seemed to be going smooth. I had no reason to think that it wasn't going to last. But one day I went to the nature trail, and that's where I go to really get in touch with my intuition, because I block out everything of the world and I become one with all things. And I can hear very clearly. I call it walking meditation. While I'm walking the nature trail, I'm just one with all things and one with my intuition. And there I can hear my intuition. And that's where I often go to listen to my intuition, is to go to the nature trail. I love going there. It helps me so much. Anyway, I was on the nature trail walking, and my intuition began to speak to me with the voice of the Spirit, my higher self, spirit guides, whatever you want to call it. It began to speak to me as it has so many times. While walking the trail, it spoke to me and told me that the relationship that I was currently in was not going to last. And that I'm in that relationship for just a purpose, for two purposes. We were together, and one was for some kind of karmic debt, which I'm not going to go into right now. But the other one was that we were to help each other discover more fully our life's path, and that when we did that, our life's paths would take off in different directions, and we would no longer be helpful for each other if we stayed together. So I knew that that was going to happen. And sure enough, about a year later, we mutually agreed to go our separate ways. And just before that happened, my intuition spoke to me again. Well, she was at work one day. I was at home, wasn't working that day. And I was meditating, and I felt this strange feeling come into the room. And I wondered what that strange feeling was. And so later that day, I was on my way to pick her up from work. And on my way, I felt that same strange feeling. And I asked the question, like I often do, what is this strange feeling that I'm feeling? And it spoke to me again and said, look out the window, take in all the scenery, look at it, take it all in, because it will soon be a memory. And so I knew that the relationship was about to end, and it didn't make me want to do anything to hasten the relationship. I didn't change anything. I didn't do anything different. I kept treating her as well as I felt like as well as I could, because I treated her with love and respect and honor. And the intuition telling me that didn't change anything as far as that goes. And so I knew it was going to end, and sure enough, it ended. And we ended, like I say, mutually, on a mutual agreement. And we didn't end with any hard feelings. And so that goes to another point, is that when relationships, you get together, the part of us that sometimes that causes a relationship when it ends to be so painful and so hurtful is that we have this expectation that relationships are supposed to last. who said they're supposed to last? All relationships are supposed to last. Was this old saying says that some come for a season, some for a reason, some to help us learn a lesson, and some do come to stay. And those that do come to stay, how wonderful that is. But it's not always meant to be that way. Instead of saying until death do us part, we should say, as long as we grow together, we'll stay together, because sometimes we begin to grow in separate directions, and then we're no good for each other if we stay together. So the attachment to thinking that relationships have to stay together causes pain and heartache. And when you realize that everything it's not going to last. The love lasts. Love never changes, but the relationship changes. And that's okay if it does. That's okay. You just have to accept it and go on. And if you understand that, he can change the expectation that it's got to last. And if you do away with that expectation and attach to that expectation that it has to last, that can save you a lot of problems down the road in relationships. So it doesn't have to last. But if it does, that's well and good too. But my point is, if my intuition hadn't already told me that this relationship wasn't going to last and that it was going to end, if I didn't know that, I would have been more disappointed and more hurt when it did end. So it's very important to get in tune with your intuition and listen to what it has to say to you. And we all have it. It's a part of all of us. But most people aren't aware that they have that sixth sense, that spiritual part of themselves that they can tune into and hear. And I encourage you to do the same. And I also would love to hear some of your stories, how you heard the voice of the intuition and what it did for you. Have a good day.